welcome to Undaunted tonight, bringing into the news on short stories. I am Oyi Okbala. Let's begin. The struggle for liberation, marked by resilience and a relentless pursuit of justice, continues to unfold against the backdrop of unyielding repression. The latest act of burning a peaceful solidarity walking dweller, aimed at supporting barrister Alice Nkom, underscores the colonial regime's systematic efforts to stifle dissent and crush the voices of the oppressed. This development is not an isolated incident. It mirrors the broader dynamics of a regime entrenched in denying fundamental human rights while employing every means to maintain its grip on power. This ban echoes the brutal tactics that have defined the colonial regime's response to the Ambazonian struggle. Just as the peaceful expressions of marginalization by Ambazonians were met with military aggression and the declaration of war, the prohibition of these peaceful protests demonstrates an unwavering commitment to suppress legitimate grievances. These acts are a direct affront to the fundamental right to freedom of expression and assembly as well, which are not only enshrined in international law, but are also indispensable to any society aspiring towards justice and equity. The significance of such repression in today's context cannot be overstated. It underscores the hostile climate in which the Ambazonian liberation struggle persists, a climate where repression, oppression is normalized, and any attempt to challenge the status quo is met with force. Yet, such oppressive measures also reinforces the necessity of the struggle. They highlight the lengths to which the regime will go to silence dissent, but equally, they magnify the resolve of those who refuse to accept subjugation. As the colonial administration doubles down on its oppressive practices, it inadvertently underscores the legitimacy of the fight for freedom. These actions serve as a reminder of the systematic injustice that have fueled the Ambazonian revolution. The oppressive environment, rather than deterring the struggle, continues to galvanize it, reminding every Ambazonian of the urgent need to persist in their quest for self-determination. In this charged atmosphere, every act of repression becomes both a challenge and an opportunity. It is a challenge to the endurance of those fighting for freedom, but it is also a place that provides an opportunity to highlight the injustice that have necessitated this struggle. The banning of peaceful demonstrations and the silencing of human rights defenders only deepen the conviction that liberation is not just a goal, but a moral imperative. The ongoing climate for liberation today is one of the resistance, resilience, and unwavering commitment as well. It is a time for Ambazonians and all proponents of freedom to recognize the stakes of this struggle and to continue to press forward, knowing that every act of defiance against repression is a step closer to justice. The fight for liberation remains alive, fueled by the unshakable belief in the inevitability of freedom and the unbreakable spirit of a people determined to reclaim their destiny. Now let's get the prime headlines. Here are the prime headlines. Let's start with the Biya regime's war against freedom of expression because it has continued. Also tonight, two Law Republic Cameroon police officers are currently nursing their wounds in a hospital after they were surprised by the ASA at a colonial extortion point. The visionary call of Captain Stallion, a move and a report you should listen to. Olembe Yaounde today is on the news as armed thugs terrorize residents, colonial government turns blind eye. Meanwhile, all the Africans seeing ECOWAS faces historic split amid coup fallout, while the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine is on the foreign news. Now, let's get the news in full briefings. Two La Republic Cameroon police officers are currently nursing their wounds in a hospital after they were surprised and by the ASA at the colonial extortion point at the Council Junction in Bamenda. Well, it was on Friday night with a difference. December 13, 2024, at two colonial officers sustained injuries during gunfire at the Ambazonian State Army while they paid them a surprise visit at their extortion point. Well, it occurred at Canto Junction in Mankan at about 7:30 p.m., where the colonial army for the whole had been extorting from road users and was still making more for the colonial regime at the expense of Ambazonians, greatly paralyzed by the ongoing war. Eyewitnesses described the gunfire as intense, creating widespread panic amongst residents. Stray bullets reportedly pierced through nearby buildings. Some civilians sustained wounds during the confrontation and were rushed to a nearby hospital. Two colonial police officers suffered wounds and are in critical condition. Well, there is an amateur video showing the colonial officers receiving treatment for bullet wounds at a health facility in Bamenda, the chief town of the Midland Zone of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Ambazonia is currently in an 8-year war and counting. A war was declared by the octogenarian dictator of La Republic de Cameroon against Ambazonians for expressing their frustration with the kind of inhuman treatment they are receiving from La Republic de Cameroon. Very sad. Oh well, we have videos there just like you have seen. But then while Barrister Mbisia will be talking, would probably be displaying those videos as well. Barrister Mbisia, welcome to tonight's Undaunted.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So this is it's a fair one for Ambazonians because we have cried here about the level of extortion of the colonial gendarmes collecting monies. And we wonder, what are these monies for? Are these monies for tax? Because we know what taxes or the monies, taken from taxes are used for, but we do not see any of those developmental projects in Bamenda or any of the places where these extortions are taking place. And then we have the ASA trying to protect your people. What would your thoughts be on this?
Well, the problem is, as we understand, tax collectors in Ambazonia, a tax collector is not a policeman. A tax collector is not a gendarme. A tax collector is not a bee or anybody in uniform. Tax collectors are not uniform carrying people. So what you find in Ambazonia with these occupation forces, be them policemen, gendarmes, be or any form of armed men. In short, they are all armed robbers in uniform. They should never pretend in any way of shape that they are there to maintain order. This is Bamenda. We have seen everything going on in Bamenda there. The policemen there, if they are maintaining security, they would have been arresting criminals. The gendarmes there, if they are doing any peace thing, they would have been arresting criminals and prosecuting them. They are not doing it. What are they? They're simply trying to extort money from people. For those are the most at checkpoints. We're hiding at the corners to rape women. They've heard the story of somewhere near a gas station, or sitting somewhere to kill for benefit. And so it's the role of the ASAs. If you find any of them, they are criminals in uniform. Give them adequate punishment. Let them pay for what they are doing. If they are trying to rape somebody, death is a good penalty. If they are trying to extort somebody, beating and reducing them to ashes is equally acceptable. And so these people are lawless. They are there to extort money for their private end, because even if they claim to be taking taxes, there's no money you give to police or gendarmes or peace where the no receipt is given to you for any money that they collect from you. Therefore, they are not going to be accountable for anybody. They're going to put it in their pockets. And again, as I've said, policemen are not tax collectors. They are not collecting taxes on behalf of the Bermuda Urban Council. Gendarmes are not tax collectors. They cannot pretend to be collecting those taxes. And so on and so forth. They are in short criminals in uniform. And so if you can find them, give them the proper punishment. And at that point, I think the ASAs have done a good job. Congratulations. Your role is to defend your people from the military occupation, to protect them where other people are molested, civilly or otherwise. It's your role. And so if you meet them doing it anywhere, once the opportunity arises, give them adequate punishment for their illegal acts. Their mere presence alone is illegal. Then they're aggravated by extortion. They're aggravated by the rape they commit. They're aggravated by the outright murders which you commit on our people. And so you're adequately covered. You're doing the right job. We cannot praise you for what you have done. To the criminal extortionists, we say your days are numbered. There's not so much you can do. But when you're standing there, those of you who were brought down there, 3 of you or 2, I don't know how many. Why there was nobody to answer for you there. Even your colonial governor, or whoever gave you the orders, is not coming to your rescue. And so extortion in Ambazonian is illegal. Highway checking is illegal. And so that's the adequate punishment they had. Over to you.
Oh, well, would continue to, to see how all of this pans out at the end of the day, because SA has said that they will continue to protect the people because that's what they want to do and that's what they've been called on to do. But before we get to another ASA story, we have this other report. The colonial SDU for worry in the colonial economic capital of the Cameroons has banned and announced peace work in solidarity with human rights lawyer Barrister Alice Income, whose NGO was sealed. It is similar to when the regime declared war on the people of Ambazonia for expressing themselves as being marginalized by the La République du Cameroon. Meanwhile, the right to protest is a fundamental human right all over the world, but it's not the same in La République du Cameroon. So the Colonial Senior Divisional Officer of Warri has banned a planned protest in support of Barrister Alice Income. The protest was scheduled for today, Monday, December 16th. In a release issued on December 14th, he said that the demonstration organized by the Red Dark leaders, which called for attendees to dress in black and gather at the Colonial SDU's office in Douala, poses a potential disturbance to public order. To this end, any gathering, assembly, march, expression of dissatisfaction, or unannounced public demonstration will not be tolerated, the colonial official has emphasized. Well, from reports, RIDEC is one of the NGOs banned by the Colonial Minister of Territorial Administration. The office door of this organization was sealed a week ago by the Colonial SDO for worry. The fact that authorizations for public manifestations were issued by colonial administrators in the Cameroons they tended to abuse it by not dishing out authorizations to anti-regimes gathering, thereby stifling freedom of expression. By so doing, they directly push for genuine disgruntled to go to radical ways to express themselves. Why prevent a peaceful solidarity work if not acting from the standpoint of the oppressor? The colonial SEO says that a peaceful work will pose a potential disturbance to public order. It is not better than the numerous authorized outings of CPDM militants on different seats singing praises to their president and their leader, Paul Biya. It is with the same spirit not to allow the oppressed to express themselves that the colonial regime saw the peaceful outing of the people of Ambazonia as a threat instead of protecting them to fully express themselves as stipulated by international law and observed across the world. The colonial regime, through their ruler, declared war on Ambazonian and Ambazonians in general. A war that, according to Human Rights Watch, the report for 2023, it has over 598,000 people internally displaced as of August 2022. We're talking about 2022. And at least 2 million people needs humanitarian aid in Amazonia currently. These figures are fast increasing as the war continues. This crackdown by the colonial regime on peaceful protests is against international norms. The right to freedom of expression is enshrined in Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which sets out in broad terms the human rights that each of us, each Ambazonians have. It was later protected legally by a raft and a draft for international and regional treaties thereby. But this is the only place where you do not have any reason to air your thoughts on air. You cannot go, you do not have freedom of expression. You do not have freedom of thoughts. And right about now, you can't even express your grievances or even try to show solidarity for something you're not comfortable with. Any which way, the regime would see it as a protest against them. Barrister Ambazia, our focus here is the fact that there is always a reason for people to express themselves. The same reason Ambazonians expressed themselves in 2016 and then the war began again. What can you say about this same pattern of ignoring
Well,
oppression over and
I,
over
I
again?
think I think the story is more than what you think. It's more than just expressing themselves. Overall, if you look at Human Rights Watch and other human rights reporting in Cameroon, for the past century, for the past 30, 40 years, everybody agrees Cameroon is a dictatorship. There's no doubt about that. It is a dictatorship, as you rightly say, that sought to come to silence the teachers and the lawyers. That's about the war. And so they have been doing it, a dictatorship. The academic theory of a dictatorship, we can say here a million times, to change anything. Until the people who are living under that dictatorship learn how to resist a dictatorship. You don't resist a dictatorship by legal means. You will not succeed. Because why are they called dictators? They are dictators because they do things their own way. They don't do things according to the law. The law is right there, but they don't respect it. They do it their own way. And they force you to do it whether you like it or not. They dictate to you what they want, not what the law says. That's what they are called, that's what is called a dictatorship. And so what is happening now with the dark is not new. Because you remember, ways back, what Medicine Sans Frontières is a human rights group, an NGO that provided care, medical care, urgent care for those wounded in war. They banned them. You can account to them for the same reason they were encouraging terrorism. There was something we call Aya Foundation, which provided food to the refugees, did all that. They banned it in the same pretext they are promoting terrorism in Anglophone Cameroon. What's the difference between Médecins Sans Frontières, Aya Foundation, and REDAC? They have gone further to attempt to intrude in the activities of REDAC. Well, Redac is a human rights group as well. They are an NGO. To the best of my knowledge, they are the only NGO that I find in Cameroon that dealing with human rights and challenging the government publicly. That's the only group that is able to 2 feet and tell them that what you are doing in Ambazonian is wrong. And so they are trying to silence Redac. And what has happened? They have made their march. That lady, the lawyer there, has told them that, look, you don't challenge the dictatorship by obeying them. They put that thing, they seal their offices, they cut it off without permission. That is almost a week ago. They're not going to arrest her. They instead sending letters to her, begging her to come to their office. Because they realize that there comes a limit. There comes a limit where you can do your dictatorship without challenge. And so what is happening with Redac, with this lady, the lawyer, just a week or two ago, a week before this one happened, there was an issue of Barrister Tamfu in Yaoundé, in Douala, the same Douala, who was beaten up in the street, carried and dumped in the car. He ended up in the hospital. What was the reaction of this community? He had to start with his own colleagues, the lawyers. They did nothing. They did nothing. They locked up this man, a lawyer, performing his profession, his duties. They locked him up. He slept in the hospital for a number of weeks. He was beaten up. And then they said they were investigating. And if the story is true, what are they doing now? The investigations have come out, and what are they doing? They are charging Tamfu for rebellion in the military court. And so, what has Tamfu done? If the story is true, Tamfu has written a complaint, a report to the procureur. I don't know who told lawyers in Cameroon and Tamfu in particular that you will report, you file a complaint against the gendarmes or against the military with a prosecutor. That prosecutor doesn't even prosecute them anyway. So how do you file a complaint there? So the lawyers would have behaved like this lady woman of Redac. They would have challenged that nonsense of beating up their brother, their colleague, and dumping him in the hospital. They didn't do it. Till now they have done it. I saw them somewhere constituting a legal team to help prosecute or defend Tamfu. How does that stop a dictator? A dictator is the guy who commands everything, including the courts. How are you going to end up there? How are you going to defend a dictator before he's on court? Doesn't just work. So dictatorships don't come overnight. They start gradually. And dictatorships don't go away because they want to go away. They are forced away. And they can all be forced down by the strength of the people they are trying to reduce, to subjugate. And so if people don't stand up to dictatorship will last forever. There's a saying in which that the people who have the government they need, they have the government they want. Dictator will not prevail somewhere else. But until the people living under dictatorship are prepared to live under dictatorship. And so what we can say is that there's, in every form, speech, actions, there's nothing free in Cameroon. Press, everything is a dictatorship. And so that's it. They are done a good job. Madam, the lawyer, is doing a good job. Stand up to the dictators, and then you have your own rights.
That's the word that should strong in all the minds of the people. Stand up till the dictators, and you know you would have your stand. All right. So a particular captain who is under General Talk and Do has been able to voice out and make a visionary call. Captain Stallion of the Ambazonian State Army delivered a powerful speech that encapsulates the spirit, vision, and principles driving Ambazonian struggle, the struggle for liberation. He is under the command of Major General Tokando in Biya County. Stallion's address highlights the ongoing sacrifices of the Ambazonian forces. He has called for integrity among fighters and paints a vivid picture of a liberated Amazonia. His words reinforces the resolve of Amazonians to achieve freedom and independence through discipline, unity, and a clear commitment to human rights. Captain Stallion's speech underscores the resilience and unity of the Ambazonian State Army across all 13 counties of the Federal Republic of Amazonia. He acknowledges the sacrifice of the ASA and their unwavering dedication to the cause, emphasizing that victory is not only possible but inevitable. This serves as both a moral booster for the fighters and a rallying cry for the civilian populace to continue supporting the liberation movement. He also called for vigilance and wisdom in light of the ongoing UN fact-finding commission. This reflects a commitment to transparency and adherence to international norms, showcasing Amazonians' willingness to uphold justice and human rights even amid a brutal conflict. Stallion's insistence on distancing genuine fighters from acts of incrimination such as unjustified killings or extortion reinforces the ethical foundation of the struggle. Beyond the immediate fight for liberation, Stallion presents a vision of a striving, independent Amazonia. He paints a picture of a nation brimming with potential. Potential such as Ambazonian airports, seaports, oil refineries, steel companies, and innovative industries. His emphasis on self-reliance and prosperity is a reminder of what is at stake, not just freedom from oppression, but the recreation of a homeland where Ambazonians can thrive without needing a leave or rely on foreign aid. This vision is a testament to the revolutionary movement strategic outlook, seeking not only to end colonial rule, but to build a nation founded on equity, justice, and opportunity for all its citizens. Stallion strongly condemns acts of exploitation and abuse falsely committed under the guise of the liberation struggle. He identifies such parties as detrimental to the revolution, tarnishing its legitimacy and eroding trust. This call for clean hands and ethical conduct, strengthening the movement's alignment with its founding principles of justice and integrity. Now, let's get what the voice of Stallion and a bit of what he has said.
Fellow Ambazonians, accept revolutionary greetings from your humble servant, Captain Stallion, under Major General Tokandu from Biya County, the land of no return. I wish to seize this opportunity to thank the Ambazonian State Army, ASA, in all the 13 counties that make up the Federal Republic of Ambazonia for their sacrifices, resilience, and endless efforts in pushing forward the fight. Special thanks also goes to His Excellency Dr. Samuel Ikomesaku, the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, who doubles as the Commander-in-Chief of the ASA and his cabinet for the wonderful job they have been and are still doing to keep the cause alive. To the ASA, let us be mindful of the United Nations fact-finding mission that is currently on ground. Remain vigilant and wise as you have always been. I cannot call for a change amongst us because I know that all genuine fighters under the umbrella of the Ambazonian State Army have always and they shall always be good examples. Distance yourselves from any act of incrimination and be kind and caring to our people. Be wise because anyone, anyway, at any time can approach you for questioning. Remain truthful. Have the history of our great nation at the back of your mind and be ready at any moment to pour it out for our benefit. Sooner than later, we shall all gather at the foot of Mount Fako to sing our songs of victory. Victory at last, which is sure. Keep the ground hot with firepower. Don't be deceived and distracted by those who have become money mongers, but rather remain focused and in executing the war with clean hands and minds. We have seen some anti-revolutionary practices such as unnecessary lockdowns, unjustified killings, torture, theft, and extortion, all signatures of some groups who claim to be working for Ambazonia. Meanwhile, they are out to kill the will of our people towards the God-ordained struggle. To this effect, as a genuine ASA, you are called upon to distance yourself from such acts which amounts to human rights violations. To our loving civilian populace, you have and continue to play a great part in this struggle. You all know the real stories on the ground and the real group fighting for your liberation, and you equally know those fighting to fill their pockets. This is the time for you to join hands and voices with true ASA fighters to fast forward our journey to the finish line. To our brothers and sisters who have vehemently refused to stand for the truth and support the fight for liberation of homeland, but rather have chosen to remain slaves under Paul Biya's regime, this is a reminder that there will be no joy for the wicked. We see some of your kind trying to use this opportunity to organize and attend your political rallies. Know that you shall one day be held responsible for.
Oh, well, and that's a brief stop there for Captain Stalin's speech. Well, of course, you can agree with me that the speech is a profound articulation of the Ambazonian struggle's core values and aspirations. His call for discipline, unity, and visionary thinking resonates deeply with Ambazonians fighting for liberation and those dreaming of a prosperous future. His address not only inspires the ASA and the civilian populace, but also provides a roadmap for achieving the ultimate goal, a free, independent Amazonia. The path to freedom is fraught with challenges, but Captain Stallion's words remained reminded Amazonians of the righteousness of their cause and the bright future that awaits with steadfast commitment to justice, unity, and ethical conduct. The realization of Ambazonian's vision is not a distant dream, but an approaching reality. Victory, as Captain Stallion says, is sure. Oh well, Bryce and base here. When young captains under generals come up to make a speech at this and let it sink in, admonishing, reassuring, and appreciating Ambazonians at the same time, what would your thoughts on this be?
I think the message coming from a captain in the military rank, a very highly placed person, somebody down the line, somebody in the middle, a general, not a colonel. But this is the message coming from a captain. And to whom is he addressing this message? He's an Ambazonian. He's talking to Ambazonians in the first place. But if you look at the message globally, it's like leaders around the world, especially from emerging countries. Because what is happening in Cameroon, in particular, and other African countries, is almost the same. You go there, you find gendarmes at the corner of the road extorting people. You find police having mounting unnecessary blocks, be it in Nigeria, be it in the Cote d'Ivoire, or anywhere. They are doing this with impunity. And this guy comes in with a message, which is tilted towards one, law enforcement officers, that is the ASAs and other security people. He says, you are not there to extort from your own people. Your role is not to punish them. Your role is to defend them. Just do what you're supposed to do. Don't extort. What is extortion? Getting money that you don't deserve. Why do people need this money? To add to their salary. If the pay for it that you see is not enough, don't join the force. Don't join the corps. That's the salary that they give you. If you don't want to live with it, don't join it. And so you have to live by within your own means. He tells them. And then you go around to the population, the ordinary people. See these law enforcement people, the ASAs in particular, for us. See them as sisters. See them as the protectors. And that will take us back again to what we saw in Bamenda, when the ASA were able to neutralize an extorting policeman. I'm coming. I've changed that. So they are, I'm going to defeat them. So they're getting the message to them. Armed people, security people, are defense officials. They're there for you. It's then the people. Don't look at these people, the population. Don't look at these ASAs as your enemies. Run to them if you need help. Don't escape from them because they're there for you. Trust them because they're defending you. Maybe once in a while they might do something wrong. But when they do something wrong, they apologize. They're not angels. But essentially, they are there for you. And then he addresses the same message, similar message to these people, the third group of people. These people who fold their arms and sit. These politicians who say that one thing, who want to use this cause to promote themselves, promote their political parties. How do they do it? They do it, for example, through scaremongering. They tell you, it's very peaceful, go to school. It's very peaceful, go and open the market. It's very peaceful, go and vote. That's what they do it. They want to use it to promote their own cause. And so the message is global, but it is the most educational message that can be given to the people. I wish that people could even listen to this because it will educate them. Because I've never seen any force in the world, even not in Cameroon, as lawless as the gendarmes, as lawless as what they call the Biya or the police. People will come to your house early in the morning at 3 o'clock, extract you and your wife and children, force you into some trucks, take you somewhere, extort money from you, beat you if they want. People will stand by the wayside in uniform, see a pretty girl passing, they adopt her, rape her and let her go with impunity. You cannot even complain against them. So what is the essence? These uniforms they wear are bought by your tax money. You pay taxes for people to come and extort you. Do you pay for these people to come and harass you? Why are you paying the taxes? For them to be paid, for them to be recruited, to buy weapons and turn on you. And so it's a big message, the most educational message I can find so far, maybe in the continent of Africa. So congratulations to Stallion. It tells the Ambazonian in particular, if somebody walks up to you to ask you a question, you're referring to the ICC investigators. Give them the answers they need. Be polite to them. That's very, very educational. We've said this before. You don't know when they will come to you. They're not going to come to you in limousines. They're not going to come to you in RAV cars. They will come to you the way you least expected. They will just be wearing their ordinary T-shirts, but they have a lot of information to collect. So you educate them. If somebody walks up to you like that to ask you questions, you're not doing a bad job. And as a guy, be able to explain yourself. This is what I'm doing. Answer their questions if they do ask you. And then that's a good message. I think that's the best that we can find. If not in Africa, if not in Cameroon, it is in Africa. And the best for Ambazonia. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Barrister Mbessia, because that's the best way that can be explained. Meanwhile, we have this report that says that for 4 nights, since a video surfaced online with masked thugs armed with machetes launching a violent attack in Olimbe, a neighborhood in Yaoundé, capital city of La Republic of Cameroon. Businesses and pedestrians were targeted, yet assimilated. Paul Atanganji, an element of the colonial government, acting as the Minister of Territorial Administration, has dedicated his attention to fighting women-led NGOs and churches, just like we've mentioned. On the night of the attack, approximately 10 armed assailants arrived on motorcycles in Olembe, wreaking havoc as they targeted several shops and individuals. Eyewitnesses reported that the group stormed a certain bakery, stealing cash and valuables from both the establishment and its customers. This is not an isolated incident. Just months ago, the same group repeatedly carried out similar attacks in Douala, the colonial economic capital city, leaving residents harmed, terrified, and demanding action. Despite the clear pattern of violence, there has been little response from the local authorities. Yet a Tanganji would go after these hoodlums, terrorizing his safe place. He wouldn't go after them. He would rather go after peaceful people trying to create a enabling environment for the people he's supposed to provide for. The so-called capital city. He prefers to target women running NGOs, which have over the years carried out activities the government have not been able to take care of. Residents are increasingly frustrated by the incapacitated colonial government's apparent indifference to the escalated insecurity, and many are wondering why no arrests have been made and why there seems to be a lack of strategic response to such brazen criminal activities happening in the heart of the colonial Republic of Cameroon. According to residents, Yaoundé is among the most insecure places to live in right now. While critics wonder why the colonizers have not deployed military officers and forces to crush these terrorists like they have been doing in Ambazonia, the astute Paul Atenganji and his fellow men of the Biya administration are yet to make an outing on the issue. This is happening right in the heart of the capital city, and yet nothing has happened. We must account here again that this is not the first time it's happening. Very Stambasia. But if this was happening in Ambazonian environs, of course, probably what do you call it? A lockdown or a closure or military men would have been parading the whole of Ambazonia. What would your thought be on this?
I think that as we speak, what they call Cameroon, the country called Cameroon, is a country that has no legal existence of a government. We've said this many times about Bamenda. People roam the streets, they do what they want, they catch you, they take money with impunity. Where is the government? They're not there. It is happening in Yaoundé. I see them, see those videos, they're taken from video cameras. He asked what is the use of video cameras if they will not follow up to catch those criminals. Nobody is caught. The video cameras, if they are there, they are put by the government. And then what happens after the sittings like that? That's a report there. You're not going to hear the next day, the next month that they have caught the thieves. They have caught those who are doing that. So it is a place where government is absolutely absent. And so they have, in the case of Karama, degenerated to a point that it is unimaginable in any civilized society. Those are public video cameras. People have them in their private homes. They have them in their private workplaces. But what happens? The thieves have become so emboldened that when they break into an office, into your private office, into your private home, they know that there's a video camera there. What do? The first thing is they look for the video camera. They steal the video camera first and disarm it with impunity. And so it's a regime, a country, lack of governance, inability to secure anything. But why would they even secure it? As per the records, 80% of Mr. Pobia's ministers are thieves. Outright thieves, not private thieves. They do it publicly. They break into banks. They steal the budget publicly without anybody asking questions. And so it's a country that lacks government. If there's no government, there's no security. And then, of course, for those who still believe in it from Ambazonia, so be them. But again, we have taken too much of it. It has taken too long. We don't intend to continue. We'll fight until we get out of the rubbish. We cannot imagine whatever brought us into this mess. It's not a place where we could have been. It's unimaginable. It's unacceptable. We must reject it and continue to reject it until we get to Biya. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Mbasir. Thank you so much for being part of Undaunted today. We hope that tomorrow when we call on you, you definitely come up and help us analyze some of these topical issues. Thank you so much. This will allow you to go and have, the rest of the day to yourself, and we'll see you tomorrow on Undaunted. Coming up next is news across Africa. OWA West Africa's regional bloc ECOWAS has set an exit timeline for three-member nations Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger after their declarations to withdraw due to sanctions and unresolved security issues. The transitional period will span from January 29, 2025 to July 29, 2025. ECOWAS Commission President Omar Touré described the situation as disheartening, yet praised the dedication of the bloc's envoy in maintaining efforts to preserve regional peace. Nigerian President and ECOWAS Chairman Bola Tinubu emphasized the importance of collaboration to protect citizens and foster growth. The three nations under military juntas are exploring alternatives, including issuing their own travel documents and forming separate alliances, while still allowing visa-free access to other West African citizens under conditions. This marks the first significant division in the blog's nearly 50-year history. According to Babacar Ndiaye of the Timbuktu Institute for Peace Studies, experts like Mukaid Dromas from Viruzik Maplecroft warns that ECOWAS faces a dilemma, accepting military real risks, undermining its founding principles of democracy, while rejecting the junta may deepen regional fragmentation. The bloc's inconsistent response to coups have also raised questions about its long-term efficacy in managing much crisis. Tribunal for Justice in the Gambia. ECOWAS has approved the creation of a special tribunal to prosecute crimes committed during Yahya Jammeh's military dictatorship in the Gambia between 1996 and 2017. The decision, announced during a summit in Abuja, Nigeria, is a landmark step in addressing years of human rights abuses, including arbitrary detention, sexual violence, and extrajudicial killings. Jamal lost the 2016 election, has lived in exile in Equatorial Guinea since 2017. The tribunal follows calls for justice by victims and a 2021 Truth, Reconciliation and Repatriation Commission report recommending legal actions against perpetrators. While international courts have already convicted several key figures in Jamal's regime, in May, a Swiss court sentenced his former interior minister to 20 years for crimes against humanity, while a German court convicted Biya Lower, a Gambian national, for murder and human rights abuses. The Gambian Ministry of Justice hailed ECOWAS' decision as a historic development and a significant step for regional and international accountability. Meanwhile, let's look at the UN as it revives push for Libyan national election. The United Nations is organizing a new panel for Libyan experts to resolve contentious issues blocking the country's long-delayed national election. The acting head of the UN mission in Libya, Stephanie Corey, announced that the committee would propose frameworks for governance, milestones, and priorities to guide a consensual government. Elections initially scheduled for December 2021 were postponed due to the dispute over candidates' eligibility. Libya remains divided, with rival administrations in Tripoli and Tobruk. The Eastern Parliament voted in August to end the term of Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Dbeibah's Tripoli-based government. A successful election could unify Libya under a single government and military, potentially ending over a decade of conflict and fragmentation. The UN renewed initiative is a crucial step towards resolving the stalemate and restoring stability. Meanwhile, Syria's collapse amid East diplomacy, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has address Syria's future following the collapse of the Assad regime in the suppressed rebel offensive that seized Damascus. Speaking to local media, El-Sisi emphasized that Syria's future lies in the hands of its people, who must decide whether to rebuild or demolish the country. El-Sisi also reviewed ongoing discussions with U.S. President-elect Donald Trump on key Middle Eastern issues, including Syria, Gaza, and Sudan. The remarks mark el-Sisi's first public commentary since Bashar Assad fell, which ended the Assad family 50-year reign over Syria. The collapse signals a dramatic shift in the region's dynamics, with implications for both regional and international stability. Now, coming up next is news across the globe. The ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine has sparked widespread condemnation and calls for action. Recently, hundreds of Jews and friends protested at the New York Stock Exchange demanding that the U.S. stop arming Israel and profiting from the genocide. The protesters' concerns are rooted in Israel's government's action, which have been described as genocidal. The military has been accused of bombing refuge camps, burning families alive, and massacring civilians in Gaza. The U.S. has been criticized for its role in supporting Israel's military action. President Biden has been urged to stop sending bombs to Israel, with many urging that he is the only way to end the genocide. Some have suggested that cutting off U.S. aid to Israel could actually lead to more war, not less. However, others argue that this would be a necessary step towards holding Israel accountable for its action. The issue is complex, with many different perspectives and potential solutions. However, one thing is very clear: the ongoing violence and suffering in Gaza and beyond must be addressed, and those responsible must be held accountable as well. Meanwhile, Iran is introducing an official exchange rate for the US dollar. In a move aimed at stabilizing the currency market and supporting the economy, the Central Bank of Iran, the CBI, has introduced a new official exchange rate for the US dollar. Well, according to a statement released by the CBI, the average price discovered for the purchase of the US dollar in the newly established currency market of the mutually agreed prices was 596 470 rivals reals at the end of the trade on Saturday. This new price is expected to serve as a benchmark for the official currency prices in Iran going forward. The CBI stated that the new price will determine the starting price of the next day's trade in the same market. The introduction of the new exchange rate is part of the government's effort to control prices and facilitate importers' access to hard currency. Exporters have already supplied $39.5 million of the proceeds to importers at the new price, with a total of $70 million available. The CBI's move is seen as a positive step towards stabilizing the currency market and supporting the economy. The new exchange rate is expected to help importers access the hard currency they need to purchase essential goods, while also helping to control inflation. As the Iranian community and economy continues to face challenges, the introduction of the new exchange rate is a welcome development. It remains to be seen how the market will respond to this new development, but it is clear that the CBI is taking proactive steps to support the economy. Let's see Israel and the USA. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had a very warm phone call with the US President-elect Donald Trump, discussing Israel's war on Hamas in Gaza and his stance on Syria. They also talked about preventing Hezbollah from rearming and bringing home remaining hostages in Gaza. Netanyahu's conversation with Trump comes at a critical time as Israel's war aims in Gaza and Lebanon are being closely watched. Israel's military aims towards Hezbollah in Lebanon are narrower, that is, aimed towards Hamas, but they may prove to be just as costly. The Israeli government has spelled out its war aims, which includes recovering hostages, securing borders with Gaza, and destroying Hamas. However, achieving these aims has proven to be challenging, with Israel facing significant resistance from Hamas and Hezbollah. The situation in Gaza is particularly dire, with nearly 45,000 Palestinians killed in the conflict. The international community is calling for a peaceful resolution to the conflict, but a lasting solution remains elusive. That's all we have on the foreign scene. Coming up next is the recap. Oh, well, tonight on Undaunted, we told you that Biya's regime's war against freedom of expression has continued. Two La Republic the Cameroon police officers are currently nursing their wounds in the hospital after they were surprised by the ASA at a colonial extortion point. Tonight on Undaunted, we talked about the visionary call of Captain Stallion of Biya County. In Olembe Yaounde, armed thugs are seen terrorizing residents. Colonial government turns a blind eye. While on the African scene, we told you that ECOWAS is facing historic split amid coup fallout, while the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine was on the foreign scene. That's it for tonight's Undaunted. Bringing into the news on church stories on behalf of the technical crew working tonight. It's good night and God bless from me.